I don't understand why we have so many sessions from the Bahamas.
I do. I can tell you why. Yeah.
Here's the contentious portion of it. I would give them all the money that they would like if they could produce results. The problem is none of the ads even meet budget.
That's a revelation in and of itself.
So like,
Okay. All right. So I've shared a lot of the information, that you had shared originally in your post on the group. So we've gone through your infrastructure, you could say, pretty thoroughly, and we have a few questions. But perhaps before we go there, you could just set the stage in your own words and how this eComm strategy even caught your attention in the first place. What triggered the low engagement and all of those things that you mentioned?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of industrial and environmental factors regardless to it all. I mean, look, let's be real. America ain't great. We're probably going to hit a recession here soon. That's definitely a factor for people spending. However, our customer generally isn't as affected by recessions as most other industries. I mean, our average ticket price for people coming to get stuff put on is... So, I mean,
Nice.
It kind of is what it is. I think our average individual purchase is something in the... Give or take something like that. I can double check and look. So, I mean, it's not horrible, right? My concern is our wholesale side is basically propping up the e-commerce side of the business. So from day one of basically having this company, I was like, yeah, no, e-commerce is absolutely going to be 50% of the business. And it has been for, I don't know, up until last year, really, is when we started seeing a solid decline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys have worked with her, and I mean, she's ruthless. She will figure fucking everything out.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. Absolute monster, and I've got zero issues because she's always going to get it done. I don't feel like just having the same situation. However, before I'm like, bro, you're done, get the fuck out, I've got to do my due diligence as, you know, the person that makes the ultimate decision and be like, okay, well, are we just approaching this wrong? Is there something that we're missing for this? Is there a better way to do ads? Is there a better way, a method to do the stuff that really we're just trying to figure out in general? So that's kind of where I'm at, right? I need to figure out, is this something that we're doing wrong? Are we structuring our ads incorrectly? Are we needing to take a different approach? Like, I feel like our site in general, we've done a number of kind of slight redesigns in some of the menus and some other things and seen significant improvement in usability.
Site looks good.
Like, I'm fairly confident the site itself is structured well.
Yes,
and
agreed.
Like, all the categories are easy to get to. We've done really well with, like, the upselling side. We do a lot of things with, like, rebuy. So, you know, they get, as they're checking out, and they're like, hey, do you want this and this? And all that kind of stuff. We're doing more with, like, emails. My general philosophy is, like, I don't do SMS texting. I don't do SMS marketing because it's annoying. I try not to do more than one email a month because that's also super annoying. Because, like, I buy a lot of stuff online, and anything that happens that I want to unsubscribe, like, I'm not doing that. Like, pop-ups, I can't stand pop-ups. I don't care if they work. So, I mean, I don't know if that's actually hurting us or not, but I think it's mainly related to ad strategy and SEO strategy and stuff. But like when you search something, we're number one.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much SEO strategy is really a thing in our case because we dominate the market because we put out so much information between Instagram, between Facebook, between actual routine site updates, between YouTube, between all this stuff that, like, we're known. But our competitors, like, for example, spends $1 million on ads a year, and I'm not going to do that. But I feel like we should be able to, you know, increase our stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason why we should be 30% down year over year in e-commerce, but then up 15% year over year in store.
What's the monthly ad spend right now?
Not a whole lot. Probably, I mean, at most $bucks, but it never. So here's the contentious portion of it. I would give them all the money that they would like if they could produce results. The problem is none of the ads even meet budget. So like trying to keep obviously the
When
cost per
what
click
do you mean
down
by
and the
that?
conversion.
Sorry to cut you off. What do you mean by the ads don't meet the budget?
We will be like, because you can allot X amount of dollars to a
Whatever
campaign, right?
channel. Yep. Yep.
There are
Yep.
often times where it doesn't even meet that.
Ah, okay.
They
It's
are
not
they are
using the
like,
budget.
Correct.
oh,
That's a
Yeah.
revelation in and of
So like it
itself.
wouldn't even do
Okay.
the budget. So I'm like, we're not doing something right when we're targeting the audiences, what the keywords we're using, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't have enough time to learn an entire different industry.
Yeah. That
Like,
makes sense.
I don't at this
that's a
point.
big ask, man.
Yeah.
It's a-
I mean, I'd do it if I have to, but
Yeah.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
rightly so. Right.
What channels are the ads running on? I know that you're
Right.
definitely running on because I saw those yesterday.
I don't actually know. I'd have to
Okay, got
I'd
it.
have to ask. 'Cause
Okay.
I don't like. I stopped micromanaging a long time ago. And
Yeah.
also, what I don't understand why we have so many sessions from the Bahamas.
I do. I can tell you why. Yeah. It's because they
Right.
firstly they're not doing geo targeting, which they should be doing. I mean, and firstly, it should be capped to the US. I imagine that's where most of your sales are. Are most of the customers that buy, are they out of state, or are they
No, not necessarily.
majority? Where would you say they're from? Let's say.
So our largest.
Okay.
I can tell you.
Yeah, that'd be great. So what so just based on what you're telling me, it appears to me that the campaign is not being managed because generally, if you're deploying
I
a
would
paid
agree.
campaign and you see, somebody looks at the report and as you pointed out, you see that there's an influx of leads coming from the Bahamas. Normally, what you do is you would basically add that to a block list so that there's no more leads coming from the Bahamas. Yeah, the fact that you're not also using the full budget is a clear indication that the ad creative and the targeting is poor. Because normally when there's poor targeting and there's poor ad creative, Facebook is just not even going to push that. So the indication that you're not using the budget that you have is probably the clearest of them all, that your creative is missing the mark. And I would, we've done a pretty deep dive on your socials and we'll get to that, once we've got all the facts. But, it's clear that the targeting is off based on the metrics that you're getting on your organic socials. You have great follower count. You have an overwhelming amount of content that's there.
Yeah, but my content to followers is absolute garbage. That's another thing that
Yes.
I'm caring about.
Yeah, and Akil, we have an influencer tool. Actually, Akil pulled a report, so we got some hard stats as well on that. But let's first stay on the eComm side. So based on the fact that unequivocally that the largest client base, that makes all the sense that we would do geo-targeting in because we know that that's a place where we're already getting a lot of leads. You double down on what's working well. When you find out something's good, when you find out a creative is working well, take that. You generally run a test campaign based on the metrics. You might start off with 5, only 2 of those fly. Of those 2, they get moved into another campaign, and then you just double down and create more creatives that kind of resemble those high-performing ones.
Yes, all that absolutely makes sense. However, finding that information is the hard part. It's easy to say. There's a science to it. There's a reason people get paid for it. It's not that easy.
True, and
Yeah. I'm not oblivious to that.
based on the organic social, maybe we can kind of segue there real quick. Organic can tell a lot about what's happening also on the paid, and if the overall content strategy is off, let's say, regardless of whether it's organic or paid, generally a clear indication that we're off on our targeting. So one of the biggest things in going through your socials is that, again, you've got great follower counts. However, overall, the engagement is pretty low. You have right now, based on Akil's report that he pulled, there was percent engagement rate right now on your organic socials. On average, yeah.
At the beginning of the year, I had them do a deep dive into our quote-unquote competition, and we find across the board that everybody's about the same. I mean, it's like a 1% or lower engagement rate, relatively across the board, even from like Al Vans, who pumps a whole lot of money in marketing. like their social engagement rate is relatively low, and that's like a number of
Yeah.
our peers.
No,
Like,
yeah, and that's
totally wrong.
yeah, I hear that, and
It's across the board.
generally our philosophy, it's good to know what is happening in the industry, but generally we are advocates for benchmarking against ourselves, so that we are gradually performing better over time by testing out different formats. Now, based on just a pretty strong deep dive going through all of your socials. First observation is that there are a lot of static images and carousels that are dominating the feed. Instagram prioritizes reels and video content. So naturally, from an engagement perspective, we should be creating more of a reels first strategy with more dynamic and engaging content, which brings us to the second point. In going through your feed, a lot of your content is more product centered. Right, meet the team, check out our showroom, check out this van, so on and so forth. But people are more wired to engage with content that is going to either solve a problem, educate them, inspire them. So I have a few that I just, I put these together very quickly. So a video that might start with, here are 3 essentials you'll need for a road trip, or 5 quick mods to make your more adventure ready, versus check out the showroom or meet the team. These types of content, like the road trip, now we're leading into buyer personas, audience personas, and we're actually creating some, you could say, storytelling and also providing value, versus checking out the showroom is very me centered. But we need to be very them centered, and naturally, as we create this content, we're going to start to get more engagement because we're going to be providing all of this value added information. And, it's not cookie cutter crap. You have an ebook, for example, that I noticed that is on your homepage. However, that should also be promoted through your YouTube channel. So, for instance, I looked through all of your descriptions, not all of them because you've got a lot of videos, but I looked through.
No, we don't. You definitely don't utilize the descriptions.
Yeah. So that is from a YouTube perspective, and I know that was one of your comments. I had mentioned I'm YouTube marketing certified, so YouTube is heavily contingent upon keywords, searcher intent, and being able to add all of these things in your description, your title, even the file name counts. So all of these things make the content more discoverable. For an account that has about 10,000 subs, roughly, you should be having at least about 10 to 20% roughly views. Right now, the views are largely in the mid, which is cool, but it's also not proportionate to the overall number of subscribers. I don't think the problem is the ads per se. I'm sure that there are things with the ads that can be modified. I think the larger issue is that there is not a clear content marketing strategy, and that is ultimately bleeding into all of the efforts and ultimately impacting the conversion rates. So what our suggestion would be is we should first create a solid content marketing strategy. We work together to create the 3 to 5 personas, and then once we have the 3 to 5 personas, we can now start to create intelligent content. That content now gets distributed through your socials and also through your ads. That's kind of how it would kind of work in terms of a flywheel type of approach.
Yeah, so I'm treating e-commerce and social as 2 separate different things.
Is that intentional, or is that just the way that you've been doing it?
Well, yeah, because it's 2 separate departments that have their own KPIs that can't be intermingled.
True, but
it can't be intermingled. It can't be, because so the problem here is you're 100% correct, and that's like literally what you said is in our year plan for media. The big problem there is you know exactly how much time and ancillary effort it takes to shoot all that. Which
absolutely
we can do,
right. Yeah.
And we've done it, but I don't necessarily have the time to do that. Like we had an entire shoot day scheduled, but then Ava had to go to the ER, and we haven't been able to reschedule it yet because, well, that was the one day that I didn't have an event on a weekend, or there wasn't something going on, that was pre-arranged and all that kind of stuff. So yes, you are absolutely preaching to the choir. 100% agree. We found that are by far and above, but really actively in our YouTube, we are trying to keep a, let's say, like a It actually might be even more than that. Ratio of what I call educational. For example, in our queue that's not published yet, we have one of our podcast episodes. We have
I'm
a
sure
how
I
to
saw that. Those are cool. The
appreciate
podcast.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a how to do grade in our boat project. We have then a product video talking about different lights, flashlights, and headlamps.
Yeah.
Then we have another podcast. We have on which options you should get, stuff like that. Then followed by one that was just published, which is a vlog type situation where we went to see the manatees in one of the Florida springs.
Crystal River.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, you're 100% correct. Like in.
Can I just ask you a real question while you pull it up?
Yeah.
As you're creating this content, sounds great. Is there diligent keyword research being done before the?
No. We're literally creating content based on what we have on the schedule and what we can get footage for, because we're very dependent for a lot of this stuff that's technical based or how to based or situational based. Where if we don't have it on our own, or if it's like already done and we gotta do a how to video, like we're very dependent on what's coming in the shop. Like, so there's stuff that is planned for videos that we won't actually shoot until 2 months from now because that's when it's on the schedule. But yes, no, let's look at us more. This is the things that you do.
Yeah, no, understood. I think there are ways around that, in terms of making production easier, for example, leveraging tools. Like, for instance, we are in the midst of launching our YouTube channel as well for our agency. Something that is a very recent initiative, and the way that we do it is, we shoot content. We've got a lot of different tools at our disposal that allow us to streamline operational efficiency as it relates to chopping up long form content into shorts that is not laborious on your team. So and then also, it doesn't always need to have a like, I know that you have it like scheduled based on this, but it could be we've got a coming in. All right, those are going to be major shoot days. But in between those, we're going to do this type of content that's very easy. Maybe it's, I saw, for example, the one with you in the podcast, and where it looks like you're inside the, content that's more around that. It's not, volume of content is not the problem here, because you're already cranking out content at a high volume. It's the optimization of the content that is making it not discoverable, namely due to keywords, searcher intent, and things that we're talking about here. When we're talking about videos and ads, we are really not talking about high production. In fact, the audience doesn't even want to see high production these days. They want to see that it's relatable. You obviously already have the personality for it, because of the way that you speak on the camera. I think we need to be optimizing the content that we are doing by adding some additional part of the workflow, namely keyword research, because we got a tool that we use. We pulled a report, and about % of your traffic is through branded keywords, meaning that people are literally typing in or elements of that in Google, which is making you discoverable. You're not appearing for parts for example, and then other things of that nature. So that would be, you've already got the branded side down to the T, as evidenced by the subscribers, the followers, and the traffic that you're bringing in. The bit that we need to, I think, work a little bit harder on is becoming discoverable for people that don't already know us. Because it sounds like, based on the data that we're getting, a lot of the people that are gravitating towards your website, this is just purely based on metrics and not based on anything else. We're just looking at the reports. So adding some additional keywords, we can think intelligently, about that would be helpful. Maybe also doing like more polls and things like that.
In stories and stuff, yeah.
Okay, cool, perfect. All right, great. I think a big indicator that would be for the YouTube, and we can only know this when we have the back end of the metrics, is watch time. Are viewers watching?
Well, I have all that.
Oh, you do? All right, cool. Can you tell me if viewers are watching at least 50% of your video before you drop off? And then the other metric, while you have it open, would be the retention rate. the watch retention rate. Those are the two biggest metrics that relate to YouTube.
All right, average view duration. Yeah, percent average.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's a % average, but with a 20-second average view duration. So that's relative garbage.
Okay. Does it have watch retention rate there? Do you see that? All right. So watch time is percent roughly. Most of them are below percent, meaning that they're not even making it through the first few minutes of your video. I think it insinuates what we said at the top, which is that the content, I can kind of say this just by browsing through the content, is one, the hook could be stronger, firstly, to capture them, secondly, I think having a more experience/outcome approach towards the content strategy is going to lift up those numbers versus focusing on more the things like that. So I think that's number one. And watch time is ultimately what YouTube rewards in order to push the videos out. We got low watch time. Naturally, the videos won't become as discoverable. Let's go to average percentage viewed next, please. All right, this is not as bad.
Without a doubt, all of our stuff is without a doubt what people want to see.
Yeah, like that one there, 50%.
And that's just talking about.
Yeah, so that then
that's what we're trying to do more of,
yeah, exactly right. So that tells me, all right, content that is really hitting off. So we should create more content. All right, this is good. Now, can we go to the next metric, audience retention? It's not bad, but the average is percent, which is a little.
The ironic part about it, all of the top ones are from years ago. So this is my personal YouTube channel that migrated into business because to be fair, there's only been an 8,000 follower gain in the past 5 years. Everything else is from me already.
Wow. Okay, that makes a lot more sense then. Okay.
Yeah, I built the entire social media. There were probably 7,000 or 8,000 Instagram followers and about the same on YouTube before we even started this business, and then migrated that into that because I didn't make content already.
Okay, got it. Okay, understood. Okay, I think we've got a good sense of what's happening on the YouTube front. So,
on this side, my big concern is driving YouTube followers and Instagram followers.
Yes.
So, for reference, because it does kind of matter. This is our direct competitor, basically.
Got it.
His engagement is as shitty as ours.
Yeah.
So he's got subscribers.
Yeah. Yeah. Just off the bat, real quick, without even seeing anything, his thumbnails are weak as well.
Yeah. But this is the industry, right?
Yeah.
So if we can figure out how to do it better.
Yeah.
He's got 3 to 4 times more.
Yeah.
Than I do, and he's still only on a good day getting 4,000 views.
Yeah. My the impression that I have, and I think Akil would agree based on the analysis that he's also done, is that we're not far off from cracking the door open. Because the stuff is already here, the follower count is already pretty high. So refinements, modifying the thumbnails, adding keywords. Those would be the top 3 things. Also creating more outcome-based content, as we discussed. Again, these are things that can be shot on your phone. We're not talking about bringing in a whole camera crew, and that type of thing. You don't have retargeting though. That's what I would say. Because I'll tell you why. Because Akil and I both went on your website, and we have not seen a single social or search ad, which we should have if retargeting was in place. So that's a big opportunity that's being missed right now, is that anybody that is coming onto the website is not seeing any. And if you're also only sending 1 email out a month, I get where you're coming from on that. What I will say in response to that, if the emails were filled with value, they would not be a burden to read.
I would agree. The question is what's that value?
I'd say
we've tried a number of different A and Bs and this and that, and we haven't been able to yet. And again, we don't necessarily know probably exactly what to A and B. We haven't found anything that really clicks, right? The click-through rates, I mean, we get relatively good open rates, but our click-through rates, all that stuff, it's
Yeah.
just not.
Yeah. And that is largely due to, respectfully, probably the quality of the content that's in there, and it's not getting people to click off of it. And on the subject of open rates, everybody's got their own philosophy. Personally, we don't really value open rates at all because it's quite a misleading metric. Yeah, it's quite a misleading like I could just be swiping through my inbox using the down cursor. That could trigger an open rate, So I think more valuable metrics, definitely number one is the click-through rate. That's going to tell us that the content is hitting. And then number two is obviously the reply rate, making sure if people are replying. And number three is the list growth rate. Are people actually subscribing and wanting to see more of the content? If those three numbers are negligible, it's a pretty clear indication that, again, the content in the email could have a little bit of a facelift. In this day and age with AI, we can repurpose our videos into written form content. That's exactly what we do. We have our video that we create. Every single video has a written blog. That blog lives in the description of the YouTube channel or YouTube episode. With inside of the blog, there are lead magnets. So that way, from a customer journey perspective, it looks like this. I go onto YouTube channel. I see description in blog. Obviously, I'm going to promote the blog through the video. Check the link in the blah, 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 blah. I'm going to click the blog. I'm going to now go onto website. In the website, I'm going to see ebook for whatever. I'm going to download ebook. Now I have contact information. Now I can remarket. So that, from a full funnel perspective, and it's not a whole lot of work because if you're already creating the video, all you've got to do with some refinements, obviously, is take that video, load it up into AI. It's going to give you back some stuff. Likely it's not going to be great because we've seen it firsthand. You're going to refine it a tad. And then that is going to be the way that the engine works. It's all about working smarter, and if you're already cranking out content, all we got to do is optimize it for the different mediums and also the different channels.
Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense. It's you're saying all the things that we've been saying.
Is there? I guess
it's really just a matter of what tools to use.
Yeah.
The strategy just is what it is, right? I mean, I totally agree with you, and you are accurate in that. But like the things that we don't know. Things like keywords, figuring out what those thumbnails should look like.
Yeah.
The general strategy of the content, I don't believe is the largest issue. It's optimizing that content, like you're saying.
Agreed.
Putting breadcrumb, if you will.
Yeah.
In content that we struggle with and that we just don't know.
Yes. And that makes sense. It's like, we don't know anything about contracts. We hire a lawyer to do that. You build great. Why are you expected to know about SEO and keywords? You're not. That's just the fact of the matter. So completely understand where you're coming from and 100% makes sense. I guess the question for you is, two questions is, how big of a priority is this for you? And then secondly, are you willing to outsource certain functions out? We can help, but it's kind of contingent upon where you're at with it and how much marketing spend you have allocated, and we can often work within our client's ecosystem, so it's not like I saw this in your post that you don't want to get rid of the that's completely fine, or she might need some education around how to construct. So there's a lot of different ways. We're a boutique agency, so we don't have hard lines.
I prefer to have as much in-house as possible. Hence the training aspect of it and consultancy side aspect of it, because we have a fractional CFO.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really good at numbers, but also people that do it day in day out, the amount of value in their knowledge and guidance, because we have all of the positions, right? I mean, I have a dedicated content creator who then puts it on YouTube. I watch it, make sure it's all factually accurate, because I should not be the only one in the videos. In an ideal world, it's going to be a two-part situation, right? One, it's going to be a consultant situation where somebody's going to come in, actually take a deep dive into our stuff and say, hey, okay, blanket, we need to change thumbnails. We need to do this stuff to this. We need to do blah, blah, blah. This is the tool that we're going to include in whatever that fee is, whatever.
Yeah.
And these are the things that you need to do to bring the things up to the standard that they should be at. Because very quickly we should see results, especially with things like YouTube and Instagram strategies and things like that. Like, this isn't like Google Ads where it's a 3-month wait.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
it's relatively, so it's a good thing where a consultancy would work because we have the bandwidth and the lifting power to do this stuff. I intentionally have more people on the front side of the business than the installing parts side of the business because it is more of a lift to get all of the business in the door than it is to get the business out of the back. So when we look at partnerships like this, like the fractional CFO, like when we did kind of the same thing for our inventory management and for the back end stuff. Like, if I'm not going to hire somebody to replace my, and then also on the side deal with the customer service, with the wholesale customer reach out, selling, that kind of stuff, because it's really a full-time job.
Yeah. What if we came in as a fractional CMO?
Yeah, I think it would have to look something like that. Yeah. Like a consultancy fractional CMO type situation, because I frankly don't have the time to do it.
That's cool.
I can say, hey, I need a video on this thing, and we can do it and we can shoot it. But overall strategy, we have a lot of raw talent and we have a lot of insane ability.
Yeah.
We just need the guidance. Say
Yeah.
it was like this.
Would you? A follow-up question is: would you require any of our agency's resources, i.e., like a designer for the thumbnails, or do you have people in-house that we're like, all right, thumbnails need work. This is what thumbnails should be like. You got a designer, or would you rely on kind of our design? There's a lot of different ways we could.
We can do all of that.
Okay.
We can do all that. So between Avery and Ava, we generate all what we currently have. So if we have guidance on what it should be, we can generate whatever's needed. The production side, we absolutely have.
Do you have any particular budget allocation for what you're liking for consultancy, or would you like for us to?
Because honestly, I don't really know what to expect. Truth told, you're the first person out of the four or so that have reached out. So I really don't know what to expect.
Yeah. Do you require for me to come to at all from Miami?
No, fuck no.
That's good.
This type of thing is, I think it might be beneficial so you can see our capabilities, you can see what we have to deal with, you can see, what our resources are, that kind of thing. It might be advantageous.
It will be advantageous, at least to begin with, I agree. Do you feel that we are people that would fit in with your culture and I guess from that capacity, or?
Yeah, it's really, as long as has had a good working relationship with you, I'm fine with it.
All right, so why don't you leave it with us then? Akira and I have a chat, come back to you with something. It's a starting point. If you're like, no, this is way off the mark, you can come back to us and then we can have a chat and see kind of where we land. We're pretty fair, I would say, generally, when we always speak with clients, but we're also shooting in the dark here, so we'll come back to you with something and then you can let us know.
I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Right. So, I genuinely don't know. So,
I would say initially, just based on our conversation, is that there is going to be a lot of work to be done initially in the first, let's say, 3 months roughly, namely keyword research. That's no small exercise. That's very time consuming. It's, if your team need to be trained on how to effectively do that. And then I think once we are rolling, we can probably level that off, but we need to close the knowledge gap. And that in and of itself is going to take some time, training on the tools that we implement, so on and so forth. So, let's have another chat, man. If that sounds cool.
Yeah, no, love it. Sounds good, man.
All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot for replying back. I'm glad we were the first ones. We'll get back to you soon. You got a great brand, man. Just want to say that. Yeah, I think it's, again, as we've discussed, it's optimization, it's refinement. It's not gutting the thing and doing a full renovation. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad to get reinforcement on that.
Good.
Because we put a lot of diligence in purposeful effort into the type of stuff that we do and how we do it. And the overall like look and feel and all
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's evident. Yeah.
To
And
hear that it's not all for nothing.
yeah, and we would tell you, we're pretty direct. Akil will testify. I am very direct. I would tell you.
You have I mean you have to be, because if you're not and you go to do things and there's no results,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not like you're gonna get you're not gonna get continually paid if there's no results.
Yes,
and you're
that's right.
You know,
Yes.
catering to somebody. So I would
Yeah.
expect that for anybody in this position.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, no, thanks very much for your time and for hearing us. I think we're pretty aligned on all the above, which is great. So we'll get back to you with something soon, and then let's pick it up.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Enjoy the weekend, bro.
Later,
Take
guys.
care. All right. Cheers, man. See
Bye.
you later. All right. We got some work to do. We got some work to do.